constructed their Super Bowl winning roster, and now the Patriots can mimic it in a way. We also go through some emails from fans of the show asking about free agency, draft picks, prospects as well, and also who the Patriots should retain. That's Foxborough Rush, wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime. You could also watch on YouTube, and make sure to like, comment, subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. Now, let's get to the chat. All right. Come on in. It's Boston has entered the chat. George Balekji here with Kasey Hudson. Boston has entered the chat. Make sure to email us at chat@nesson.com. And if you're watching the show, please subscribe on Nesson's YouTube channel. If you're listening, hit the subscribe button and download button as well. Case, how we doing?
We're good. We're really good. I feel like we're in that weird part, Super Bowl wrapped up, and then everyone's sitting here now saying now what, but there's a lot of now what going on. Red Sox have stuff going on. Hockey's in full swing. If you're a hockey college fan, you just did an amazing job doing the Beanpot Championship. I loved the interviews. I feel like you pulled the personality out of each of these kids.
That means a lot. I appreciate that.
And that's where you get excited again. Like if you're not a BC or a BU fan, you were excited to watch what you did.
Yeah, that means a lot. I think the best was that big smile, Mikhail Yegorov, the goalie for Boston.
Contagious.
His story is just so amazing that he was playing for the Omaha Lancers at the USHL 3 weeks ago. He's an 18-year-old freshman, but he started 62 games for them in the USHL. And in this past season alone, they fired their head coach, interim head coach, and his goalie coach. He was already committed to BU. So Jay Pandolfo was like, hey, you know what's best for his development? Let's get him in now. Let's see what we got with the goalie. He's been nailed since then. And that's a kid that's from Russia, was dealing with a difficult situation in Omaha. I bet he just loved being in such a good environment playing for BU. And he rolled up on me. Man, he's 6'6" without skates. I think he's 7 foot. He was straight looking down. It's hockey. I'm used to it. You know?
I get it. Trust me. I'm 5'1" on a good day.
Yeah. See, you know how it goes.
Exactly.
But that was what's fun is how elated he was to win. He stood on his head, 39 saves against BC.
Right.
He played terrific. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And that's what I mean by you pulled so much personality out of him. I don't think people remember some of these kids' journeys. To be 18 years old playing here,
insane. On that
him
stage.
making that decision, exactly. Him making the decision to leave Russia, to have a career, to start all that. That conversation starts at 11, 12, 13 years old. Yeah. So a lot of big movement, but so much joy from him and every guy that you got
Pandolfo, he was so happy.
Oh, he was great.
BU alum. He won as associate head coach for Jack Parker. Finally won as a head coach. Came up short the last 2 years. Yeah.
Yep.
Every level of the way. So that was a lot of fun. Thank you for that, though. I appreciate that. Hey, we do have hockey talk for you guys in the show. To your point, it's I'm going to give credit to the hockey. I bag on the NHL all the time because the marketing, they just don't do their players in the sport justice. But there's a lull of the Super Bowl and Four Nations is starting Wednesday night. So we're going to get into Four Nations, talk a little bit of Sweden versus Canada. We'll talk that whole tournament as a whole. We also get into the Red Sox pursuing Alex Bregman, Nolan Arenado, Justin Turner, a game of Would You Rather we got going on as well. And as always, we have the ringside report as well on the midweek episode of Boston has entered the chat too. So got all that, ringside review, all that and more on the chat. Let's get into it though. So a little Would You Rather case with Alex Bregman, Nolan Arenado, or Justin Turner. And I love how our producer Brendan put this together. So they've been linked to the three. Give me a reason for each guy why you think they're a good fit for the team and who you want them to acquire. We could go one by one too. You don't got to go all three.
I was way to throw the hot seat there. No. So obviously Bregman, he's the hot grab here, the hot commodity. Yeah. But you said start with a positive.
Hey, you know what? Check. You go any way you want.
Okay, so I know that a couple of us have been chatting, and Travis brought it up too. It's the fact that of how long of a contract that he wants, and it's not favorable to what the Red Sox want to offer at the moment. So it's kind of putting him out. But between age and his postseason statistics, his postseason experience, that caliber that he's built in the postseason. That's really attractive for the Red Sox because you're talking about a guy who's going to elevate this roster to the next level. So there's the positive for Bregman. What do you got for him?
That's the guy I want, out of these three. So I'll cut to the chase on that. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he's coming off a 26 home run season. What was a down year for him? They badly need a right-handed bat in the lineup. His bat and his swing totally works out with the dimensions of Fenway Park. Right. And you hit on it of what he's accomplished in the postseason, winning World Series, being one of the best players on those Astros teams, all the experience. And I say it time and time again, they need a leader in the clubhouse. They need an adult in the room. At 30 years old, all the experience he brings, I understand the length of the contract, but that also is, you sign someone like him now, it pays dividends down the road. You get 3 great years out of him, out of, say, the 5 or 7 that he wants, whatever it could be. But that pays off for the Jaron Durans, the Sedan Rafaelas, the Willier Abreu's, any guy, the younger guys coming up, the Marcelo Myers, the Christian Campbells as well. All these prospects that will rise up, but also the guys around them. I think a leader like him is so essential. And he's a power bat. He's a right-handed bat that they need.
Yeah.
And defensively, he's a big upgrade. Third, second, wherever you want to put him, he will be an upgrade for them, for a team that needs upgrade on defense.
Yeah.
So I'm all in on it. Let me hear your
You
why
said
not,
hands
though.
down. Well, my only thing with it was the contract term.
Yeah.
Because like what's
Which I
flattering.
understand.
Yeah. And then also when you lead with that, sometimes I feel like it could hinder what the leadership conversation can be in the locker room in terms of like, you know, how much he's going to come in and want to be a bigger voice.
Yep.
Or how he'll do it right off the bat. But I think that it is hands down Bregman being probably the bigger, better fit immediately for the impact that the Red Sox are looking for. Though, and him being 30 years old comparison to Arenado being 33, I think is a big point of contention as well. I'm a big fan of Arenado, though. Talked about this with Travis already beforehand, and you talked about the need for that right-hander. He is that.
Yep.
He's also powerful, but then on top of that, I like how flattering it is that he's hard to strike out. He's very smart against a number of pitchers out there, and he doesn't have as much postseason experience, but I think because he's got this no trade clause, one of the only negotiations that he put into the mix is Boston. So you have that buy-in factor with a guy who's ready to take his game to the next level, because in some aspects of his game, he's been slept on. Like Arenado's only been talked about as pulling through for the Cardinals here and there, but not as heavy as I think he can make a roster impact.
Yeah, I mean, and also defensively, I mean, he's still an absolute stud at third base.
One of the best defensive third basemen out there.
In all of MLB.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing, and you said it earlier, he's definitely a defensive upgrade. He's a leader. It's not that he's 33 years old. He only hit 16 home runs this past season. Now, can that bat wake up, and can he be a 20-plus home run guy that they can use at third base? And once you have Rafi at DH, if that's what they do with the lineup, then that uplifts everyone. I just don't like how the power feel seems to have left his bat, where if that's a right-hander bat you're going after, it's the short-term payoff and then the long-term. Like if you sign Nolan Arenado or you trade for him, what they have to do in this case, where reportedly the Cardinals, like they're not going to eat the money. Like they want you take his contract if you trade for him.
Yeah.
So if you're going to pay for that deal where it's $3 or $64 million left, does that take you out of the running for a Vlad Jr. down the road? Those other big bat free agents that can be right-handed bats the next offseason, the offseason after. To me, it just comes down to his power that I feel like left his game, where you have the money to spend, and if it's a Bregman there, and we're talking of contracts, bad contracts, I think Arenado at the price is a bad contract, which I never thought I would say about him, but it's that you don't get that return on the bat, which I think is so important.
But do you think that any of his injuries have played into that? Like, say we're talking about a healthy Arenado coming in, has the buy-in, wants to be a part of this Red Sox team, show that he can put more in?
Yeah.
Then...
Yeah, no, definitely. It's just, again, you're going to ask him for like that at 34 years old, when it's like we've seen his bat decline year after year. So it's like, is there the fountain of youth in Boston? I don't know. and it's also with that added, and we'll get into it more in detail. And like, I guess my red flag on him is that the Cardinals want you to eat the contract. Chaim Bloom runs a personnel department now with the Cardinals. He previously was with the Red Sox. So he's not going to do anything to help out Boston after they fired him. It's how I take the report coming from ESPN's Jeff Passan. Arenado's 33. You're going to have to pay the remaining $64 million. And with Bloom running St. Louis, it doesn't seem like they're going to help you out at all. Is that all worth it? Again, that can hamper you long-term down the road getting other right-handed bats. What about Justin Turner for you?
Turner, he's not really sitting in the conversation for me.
That's why I gave you the you can be truth. He's 40.
You're like, you can move on. Right. So
40.
he goes against everything that you and I have just talked about. The age situation is there. I think if there's one positive angle that we could try to illuminate would be the leadership.
Yep.
You mentioned leadership at the top when it comes with Bregman. So yeah, that is somebody who can come in and be a voice for this roster. But for the most part, I just think that time won't be on his side for what he can bring value wise. And basically the good things or the things that you highlighted with Arenado, like looking over the next course of the couple of years, would it even be worth it? And what's he going to bring to the table right now?
Yeah.
Because I think the Red Sox are looking for more of an immediate impact. You hear Red Sox fans talking, and I just heard a couple guys talking as well, and like they still kind of feel hopeless as to what the production's going to be this upcoming season. And you have to bring in a guy that's going to kind of be a little bit of a change agent. So
they need a right-handed bat, and if like that's your right-handed bat, then that's just like a failure.
It
if
almost
he's
feels
an
desperate.
addition, Yeah.
Yeah.
If he's an addition, like say you get a Bregman and then Turner's on a really team-friendly deal, that's fine. That's two great leaders. Justin Turner's been here. He loves Boston. He is a professional. He showed them what it takes to be an MLB player. But if that's the guy that you get, then to me, like that is a failure of the opportunity. So when we list out those three guys, if you were to rank them 1, 2, 3, who's your 1, 2, 3? We might be pretty similar on this.
Yeah, I mean, I want to make a case for Arenado so bad, but I think in reality, it's got to be Bregman, Arenado, and then Turner. Yeah. I mean, I think the only thing that's going to be a term of separation for the Bregman is if they can't figure out, how to satisfy him on the deal end of things for the term.
That's the way I look at it too. It's for Bregman. It's like, what are you hearing out there? Here's money. Here are the terms. He knows this is his last big contract, and that's why he is pushing 7 years, 7 years, whatever it may be, 5 years, something that take him through his year 36 season. But if I go 1, 2, 3, it's how we listed them out. It's Bregman 1, Nolan Arenado 2, Justin Turner 3. And really for me, if it's a standalone signing, I don't even want Justin Turner in the conversation. Nothing against him. You give me Justin Turner 5 years ago, I would take it. But not at 40 years old.
No. The age is an off for me. Do you think that the conversation has just been dragged out too long? Because, I mean, spring training, pitchers and catchers have already reported and stuff. Like, things have gotten into action. I know that there needs to be a move made before opening day for Arenado. Yeah. So do you think that Bregman's conversations can drag out too long? Yeah.
Baseball's weird with the offseason. Yeah. Like, it started out fast. Juan Soto, the excitement, right? There, with Garrett Crochet getting here and even where Blake Snell signing with it. Like, it happened fast and it sizzles out. I just remember when Trevor Story joined the team. Like, it was well into spring training. And it's just how this offseason can be so dragged out and have such dips between all the excitement that I just can't get a read on how long this one will go out. And I think, though, like Bregman will play it out slow. Like a vet at his age, you get with me. I don't have to do the spring training. Who's going to give me length and who's going to give me money? Hey, our guy Lou Merloni, you could catch him always on 310 to left. He posted on X what he thinks of the three guys up there, especially Alex Bregman and Nolan Arenado. Check it out right here.
Bregman, Arenado, both these guys make your team better. Bregman had about 5 weeks to start the season. Arenado had a down year. I don't know. St. Louis has been a cesspool the last 2 years. Look, Tyler O'Neill socked there for a couple of years, right? Same with Goldschmidt. So, is he washed? I don't think he's washed. If nothing else, he brings you gold glove defense. Remember, you were like the worst team in baseball defensively the last 2 years. Remember that? How many games you lost because of defense? They make you better. And don't worry about a corresponding move. You don't need one. Massa may not even be ready to start the year. You can slow play him, get 2-3 weeks into the season, and you're not getting out of camp healthy. Last year you walked into camp with Casas at first, Grissom at second, Story at short. Casas gave you 3 weeks. Grissom didn't get out of camp, and Story played the road trip. So things are going to happen. And when you have these guys, you have coverage, right? If somebody goes down, say you got Arenado or Casas gets hurt, or Devers gets hurt, like your third baseman is there. Casas goes down, Devers goes to first, right? You got Bregman, forget about it. You can do many options. You got Campbell down in AAA and Grissom down in AAA. Maybe they both play second and left. Shortstop goes down. Stay down right to short. One of those two, who's ever healthy and playing better, goes to the outfield, gets called up. First base goes down. Bregman goes to third. Devers goes to first. You call up Campbell. Like, there's just, you need that depth. Same thing with the rotation. 6-man, it'll play itself out. Last year, Giolito was in the rotation. Whitlock gave you 4 starts. So if you're healthy again to camp, Giolito coming off Tommy John, maybe he starts in a rotation if he's ready. Who knows? Maybe Cutter Crawford's a weapon out of the pen for 2 weeks, 4 weeks before somebody goes down. Bayo made it through April and got hurt in May. Pavetta soon after that. Like, you got to be uncomfortable in camp as far as your roster goes to have depth. Let things play out, right? That's the way it's supposed to be. Both those guys make your team better.
I mean, Lou mapped it all out. I'm just curious, where do you think that was? Airport, waiting to get on a flight down to Florida? Starbucks, maybe at like a cafe somewhere?
I was going to say, like, all you're hearing is like this winding of things. So I'm like, it's got to be an airport.
And I looked at the background too. I'm like, was he just like, grabbing breakfast with his family? He's like, I just got to get this video off.
Nah, taking flight.
Look how locked in he is.
Taking I love flight.
Lou. Great. One of the best people to talk ball with. But you know what tells me it's an airport? Look over his left shoulder. That piece of steel.
Ah.
He's in that awful.
Good
You're
eye.
waiting outside
Plus,
your gate.
Look at the seats.
Exactly.
The steel between the seats.
Exactly. That's the one. You're waiting outside your gate. You're like, and what better way to kill time than run through the options that the Red Sox have?
Passionately making a case.
Exactly. And it was Bregman Arenado what you get with either signing, and he points out, is the defensive versatility first and foremost. And by no means has this been a team where you could go, the defense is fine, we don't need to make that a priority. Every acquisition they make, especially on the infield, has to put defense in the forefront and in the conversation. If you go bat alone and it's a bad defender, and then you just don't know what to do between that bat, say, and Rafael Devers, which could be the Vlad Jr. acquisition, then what are you doing there? But that's how important it is between Bregman and Arenado.
Yeah, but then that's almost where I lean towards Arenado. I mean, you're talking about somebody that can come up big for you in those tight moments, those clutch moments where you need those defensive plays, and the consistency. That is one thing that you can put Arenado in the consistency category of his defensive plays and showing up in that element.
I would like Nolan Arenado to go like the NBA player route, where he goes to the Cardinals and goes, if no one's going to trade for me because you're not going to eat any of the contract, then I'm just going to not show up. You know what I mean? Just like run his way or be like, I will shoot down every single trade. I have a no trade clause. I will shoot everything down, even if they pay my full contract, because I want to go where I want to go.
Yeah.
Get some NBA in.
And I feel like he's kind of doing them a favor in a sense of like, I'm not
get a better return.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to force this no trade clause down your throat. I'm not going to put you guys in a bad position. I've got a team that I'll go to. Like, let's work this out a little bit better. So I agree.
Hey, you want to hear more from Lou Merloni? Check out 310 to Left with Red Sox spring training is arriving. Everyone's watching closely to see if the team will make the postseason, get back to the postseason in 2025. We know I have a lot of questions about the Sox and their future, but check out Nesson's baseball podcast, 310 to Left. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever else you get your podcasts. All right, let's get into what's trending. Case. We start with a former Red Sox player. Kenley Jansen agreed to a 1-year, $10 million contract with the Angels of Anaheim. Congrats. Kenley Jansen, he's always said he wanted to play for like a winning team. They haven't made the playoffs since 2014. Yeah, he hasn't been good since 2022. He got the bag, and he's just getting paid.
Yeah.
The thing is, he's 31 saves from being all-time, third place all-time in MLB history to tie it. You're not going to have save opportunities with this Angels team. They stink.
That was
get
exactly what went through my mind.
Right?
I'm over here like, everyone's like, oh, you've got the veteran presence with the saves. You got the saves. You got the saves.
What
and I'm
saves?
like, but where have the Angels been?
Where are those leads going to come from?
Exactly.
Yeah.
How is he going to be primed in position to make those key saves or have those key saves for you guys? So that was something that I was just curious about. But you said it. I mean, he gets his money. He hasn't been healthy either, per se. So it's just like, what's the timeline on all of this for him to be impactful?
Yeah.
And then it's the Angels. I mean, 2014 says a lot, honestly. So
everything about that team.
Yeah.
Like them deciding not to trade Ohtani at the trade deadline his last season with them. Because no, we're buying.
Right.
We think we can make a push. It's like
what's
he was
the
going to leave.
Exactly.
You knew it.
What's the push here?
You just let the greatest, the best talent ever step on a baseball field in the history of the sport walk out for free.
Yep.
So that's it. He saw $10 million. Kenley Jansen, in my opinion, is a Hall of Fame closer, but he hasn't been good since 2022. Get the bag, get your contracts on your way out. And him going back to California, I mean, obviously,
back west.
You close your eyes, he's a Dodger. It's getting his family back to California, which I assume is very important to him.
Yeah, I think he's just positioning himself for the end of his career, and this is a good way to do that. I mean, he's open to it, looking to win or winning team. But yeah, that's not going to happen in this sense with him.
No.
How many years do you think he has left in him?
One.
Just the one.
It's all situation, but like you said, he hasn't been healthy. It's what could the role be? Does he go from being a closer to a bullpen guy? Like a setup guy, or just something where he's not going to be your night in, night out, closes the door on the opposing team? I guess I would say 2 or 3 years. Yeah. And it'd be cool to see him get to third all time in MLB saves. He has to put the finishing touches. I don't think he's a no doubt Hall of Famer. I think he does need to become third all time. He needs those 31 saves. It's going to take multiple seasons. But we'll just see how long it takes him to get to that point. That's what I wonder with Jansen and all this.
I'd say 3 years.
Yeah.
And it also depends on the injury play out. He's going to need the time behind him. So I say he's got 3, maybe 4, because he's going to want those 31 saves.
Take the 10 mil. If he proves something first half of the season, then it goes trade me at the deadline, and he gets sent to a contender, puts him in a better position.
True.
It could always happen as well. Talking NFL, the Saints named Kellen Moore their new head coach. Can you imagine the highs of winning the Super Bowl, just coaching and scheming your butt off in the Super Bowl against a really good Chiefs defense, and you go, yeah, I'm going to go to New Orleans, a job that no one wanted?
I think it's more like what you just said, and then getting the bag. Like,
head coach money.
It was the not turning the money down. The numbers I was hearing was like he's sitting at $4 million right now, or before accepting this job, and then could jump up to anywhere between $10 to $12 million. So it's that youngest head coach now out there active, topped Mike McDonald, I believe it was. So if he's looking to build out his career, probably not a bad spot.
Yeah.
I know that it's not very flattering because of what we saw the Saints become, but they had a lot of injuries work against them. I don't know what their plan was in terms of the identity of this team, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
Like, they almost tried to turn this roster into a misfits roster, just kind of picked up any guy, threw it together, and said, let's see how this rolls. So I think he can bring more of an identity to the Saints roster. You're talking about a guy, too, who helped the Eagles sit in top 5 of categories such as points per game, number 1 with points in the postseason. So the strategy is there, but if he's looking to build out a good caliber of his coaching career, especially as the youngest head coach at the moment, not a bad start.
He's bounced around as an OC. Cowboys, then was with the Chargers, and with the Eagles did great. Can't overlook how fantastic the front office is for the Eagles. Like, Trav and I went in depth on that on Foxborough Rush. You walk into that situation with the Saints, that's just, to your point, like, what's the identity of the team? And you have to ask that. I just don't know what the direction of the Saints is at all.
Yeah.
You have a good receiving room. You have Alvin Kamara, okay offensive line, and, like, that's about it. What I think with him is his stock's never been higher, but there weren't any good coaching vacancies left.
Right.
But if you think of, like, the potential coaching openings that can happen this next offseason, this next coaching cycle, like the Bengals, Zach Taylor, that's got to be heating up. The Bills, if they take a step back, I don't think they'll get rid of Sean McDermott. I think he bought himself 2 years with this past season. The 49ers, the Cowboys, and I am anti-Jerry Jones, but I'd rather be coaching the Cowboys than the Saints, to be completely honest.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I feel like coaches have no room to breathe over at the Cowboys.
Yeah, Jerry wants control, but at least that's the setup they have in the structure of, like, a Will McClay and Stephen Jones. Like, they know what they're doing personnel and business wise. You gotta overcome Jerry, which I think is an impossible task. I just think, like, the potential openings, the Dolphins job could open up, Colts job as well. Like, all of these are coaching seats that should be simmering right now. It could be very hot depending on how the season goes. If I was Kellen Moore, I would have rather waited for that. One of those, the next potential coaching cycle hire. Like what Mike Vrabel didn't take any job, was with the Browns, and then was the hottest commodity. Kellen Moore could have built up his stock, but also he said maybe, hey, my stock will never be higher than this one. And your point, let me get the head coach money and get into that seat.
Yeah, I think it was a money thing. I do agree there's a better fit out there for him, but again, it's not all at a loss here. And plus, I believe I was reading too, the Saints haven't hired outside of, their normal pull-up anyway. So I feel like they're going to give him a little bit of wiggle room to build the team that he needs to build in order to bring those numbers that he successfully registered with the Eagles over to the Saints.
Hey, honestly, he better get a 5-year plan.
Right.
Like
they better make it worthwhile.
Leash.
Yeah, don't set him up to fail by bringing him in
Give
expecting.
Him time. Exactly. More NFL. The Jets reportedly told Aaron Rodgers he could no longer appear on the Pat McAfee Show if he wanted to return next season. He went to New Jersey, met with the team, and they basically gave him the ultimatum. A, you got to show up for training camp.
Please.
B, no more Pat McAfee appearances during the season. Good on the Jets. Good on Aaron Glenn. Getting his hands back on that entire franchise and getting control over the locker room.
Right. First of all, do you feel like this was a power move to just finally say this isn't Aaron's team, this is our team?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Like, you have to listen to this. Yeah. Because does whatever he wants, says whatever he wants, especially on the McAfee Show. And it's I don't have an issue with players making appearances during the week.
Yeah.
But when your play is that bad, and exactly when you've had that much control over the roster that Nathaniel Hackett's sticking around, you gave him an inch. The old saying, you took a mile. You got to cut him off. That's exactly what I think it was. Total power play by the Jets in the best way possible.
Yeah, and they had to do it. But also, it's the fact that there's such liability out there from a PR standpoint when you have somebody just kind of loose at the lips about things, and he was running the lead on some of the changes going on for the Jets, and it wasn't playing out. So you've got something not playing out from the leader of your franchise, number one, and then you've just got these loose lips and too much of a comedic fashion on the Pat McAfee Show. So it was just a bad look overall, and I feel like the Jets just felt like they were losing control. Do you think he sticks around?
No. Money-wise, it doesn't make sense. They obviously don't want him.
Right.
And he's the guy, I covered him at the end of his run when he was with the Packers. I was in Wisconsin working local news at the time. And you just saw how severe the split was between the franchise and Rodgers.
Yeah.
And to the point where he's like, I want to do my own thing. I want to make these decisions. And you just look at how his career has fallen off. And I'm not going to credit the Achilles to him wanting to do his own thing, but just the drop off in play has been legit. Mm-hmm. And he set that franchise back by making sure they have like Tim Boyle in the quarterback room because he was an awful backup, giving Alan Lazard $11 million a year, having Nathaniel Hackett as a play caller and offensive coordinator because that was an utter disaster. And they just saw it. And like, that's why, same thing, if the Saints give Kellen Moore a long leash, good. The Jets giving Aaron Glenn this much power, good, because clearly what they're doing isn't working. So I give credit to Brick and Jack Johnson too, the sons of Woody Johnson, for taking hold. You know, that takes a lot of stones for a 17-year-old to look Aaron Rodgers in the face and say, you can't do that anymore.
More. He got his first real footing into sports broadcasting. You're gonna have to look somebody in the eye and say that eventually. So there you go.
Exactly. Hey, they took hold back of that franchise. So Jets kind of doing something right. We'll see how the rest of it looks. Hey, if you're enjoying the conversation, be sure to tune in Monday through Friday to Boston Has Entered the Chat. We talk all about the latest news in sports in Boston and around the country each and every day. You can find us on YouTube, Twitch, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever else you get your podcasts. That's Boston Has Entered the Chat. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can also watch on YouTube. Go to Nesson's YouTube page and hit the subscribe button as well. You excited for the Four Nations face-off? Rhetorical question.
I'm so freaking excited.
I can't wait.
Rhetorical question.
I can't wait.
Are you going to one of the Monday games?
No, I want to watch. If I get credentialed, I'll go, but it's just like one of those game time decision.
Yeah.
Life's busy outside of it, but trust me, I want to go. I think that environment will be fantastic. But I just love that, even for like not even talking the USA conversation, like the first game of this tournament, Canada against Sweden, two absolutely stacked teams. This is the first time we're seeing this type of tournament since 2016. Mm-hmm. Follows NHL rules. It's round robin. For those of you that may not know, the best of Canada, USA, Finland, and Sweden will be squaring off against each other. And it's NHL stars. It's international stars. I can't wait. And you look at this Canada versus Sweden lineup. I mean, both teams are stacked.
It's insane. It's the 3-2-1-0 format, actually. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plans out. But I feel like the guys are psyched about it. The Canada roster, you look at it, and it's filthy. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting because then you always look at one of the things that I love most about hockey is that all-star names versus chemistry. And what a lot of people are kind of saying outside of the Canada market, of course, is like, yeah, you got a lot of all-stars, but how are they going to gel together? What I also love is that, more importantly, John Cooper being the head of this team, he's really good with knowing the skill set of his players. He's really good with focusing on chemistry versus anything else. And then he's got a lot of his own guys on this roster as well. So Canada's going to be a scary team. And then the biggest other conversation around Canada right now, that top power play unit.
It's insane.
That top power play unit.
That's what you dream of. Crosby, McKinnon, Reiner, Cale Makar, Connor McDavid.
Yeah. Gross. And then some of the media that's on the ground in Montreal right now is saying how you have Crosby and McKinnon that stayed back after practice, just sitting there working, setting up Crosby in the slot. And I'm like, this is so scary. This is dumb scary.
This is why this tournament's going to be fantastic. The amount of pride that these guys will have.
Yeah.
And
some guys got snubbed from Olympic opportunities a couple years ago. So this is some guys' Olympics in a number of ways.
Yeah. I mean, think about Crosby and Marchand. Like, this could be the last time wearing a Team Canada jersey for the guys that are like up there in age. And you just look at how good they are even down the middle. It's McDavid, McKinnon, Braden Point, and what their top six is as well. Reiner, Mitch Marner on the wings. You got the experience of like a big Mark Stone that's playing with the McKinnon-Crosby line as well.
Yeah.
It's a lot of skill in a lot of spots. And then to have Devin Taves and Cale Makar, your top blue line pairing. Canada has a lot of fast skaters, a lot of speed, and a lot of explosive scoring.
Yeah.
It's the goaltending that leaves a big question for me. But with Jordan Binnington and Aiden Hill even, that's big game experience. Mm-hmm. It's playoff experience. And you just need them to be like high floor, serviceable.
Stanley Cup form.
Yes.
You need Stanley Cup form from two Stanley Cup champions.
And they've stepped up in the big stage. Exactly.
Yeah.
You will get the scoring. Just keep us in the game. That's what you need for them goalies.
My only concern, which I don't know how much it's going to play into Four Nations, I'm thinking more of NHL as a whole. Binnington's attitude tends to get to him sometimes. And you see his mental just do something different between the pipes. So, like, hopefully that doesn't come into... they are. You gotta be.
Yeah.
For every sport, goalies are on a different level. So I wonder how that's going to factor in, because you're going to have... come when they face USA, you have a team that's really gritty, really physical, and Matthew Tkachuk's going to make it hell for him in every way possible. A number of USA players are. So Sweden's going to be on the kinder side of that. But Sweden's back end, to give them some credit, you've got some of the biggest guys, some of the biggest defensive names when it comes to the NHL going to be wearing that Swedish sweater. And more importantly, even their top guys. Hedman, Ekholm's one of the top guys for that plus-minus rating, which helps tremendously. So I feel like they're going to kind of be on the cusp of making it difficult to score. It's going to be see how they have that grit to force Canada to the perimeter a lot, take away the center from them. You take away the center from Canada, Sweden's going to make this a fun one. And then Forsling, he's been one of my favorite guys to watch for the Panthers.
Oh my gosh,
so notable back there.
Just a legend. And it's with Rasmus Dahlin, that's like the young star that's rising. You mentioned Ekholm, that's the vet. Victor Hedman and Jonas Brodin as well. Like that, the blue line and then the goaltending, it's just that's what could steal the tournament. Like that's what makes Sweden scary. Yeah, Philip Gustafsson, 6th highest in goal save above expected. The Wild right now are in a playoff spot. And Linus Ullmark just 2 games back since he returned to injury for the Senators. 7 goals against that he let up. But when you have that good of a play on the back end, like that's what helps a lot. And William Nylander, Mika Zibanejad, like that. There's again the scoring, the skilled skaters that they have as well, and Elias Peterson too. They do have the depth. It's and Elias Lindholm you throw in as well, but it's that blue line in the back end for Sweden that sticks out to me, which is like what makes this first matchup so exciting.
Yes,
all the scoring, all the skilled skaters from Canada, and the great blue liners and the goalies that you have for Sweden.
Yeah, this is where we'll actually see how sustainable this blue line for Sweden's going to be. Because the one other thing you talk about Canada's top power play unit, we talked about what their special teams are going to bring, how fast they are, how well they can score, but something else that they're going to need a lot of credit for, their bottom 6. Like, not trying to be biased here, but you're talking about Hagel, Cirelli, Bennett potentially being a part of that bottom 6, Marchand, Point, and Jarvis. Braden Point is brilliant. Anthony Cirelli has really come to true to form for a two-way player for the Tampa Bay Lightning and for shorthanded opportunities. So you're talking about a Canada team that can be lethal on both scoring chances for the power play and the penalty kill because of a guy like Cirelli. And if he's playing alongside Hagel, Hagel's right there matching him pace for pace to set up those opportunities. So that's where there's going to be an edge for Canada and a true test for Sweden.
And of course, you also have Brad Marchand, just the shorthanded goal king.
Right.
I don't know if he's on the top units, but that's
bottom 6, or at least from the last thing I saw.
I'm saying on the penalty kill. But you're right on the bottom. Yeah, he's in the bottom 6, but on the penalty kill, I don't know what their top 2 units are. We'll see as the tournament goes along. But that's how you steal games. Real quick, too, we got to talk about Team USA.
Yes.
Jack Eichel, Matthew Tkachuk should be on the top line. You have Gensel, Austin Matthews, Jack Hughes, JT Miller. You mentioned Brady Tkachuk, Dylan Larkin, Vincent Trocheck. Like, come on. And then you got Adam Fox, Charlie McAvoy on the top 4 for your blue line pairings with Slavin and Werenski. And then in goal, that's where it all goes. Like, they have with Hellebuck, Ottinger, and Swayman.
They're too stacked.
USA's tournament to lose.
They're too stacked. Like, that's the hardest thing. I will say also, though, there was a lot of debate on who the Tkachuk brothers should be flanking. And some people were like, it's criminal that you don't have Brady Tkachuk and Matthew Tkachuk along the side of either JT Miller or Eichel. Where would you place that?
Well, I like Tkachuk, Eichel top line together. Okay. And then I think that if you have Brady Tkachuk on the right side of a JT Miller too, I think that just like sticks. So that's where I like Tkachuk with an Eichel pairing. And that's the thing, like with these wings and these centers, it's Matthew Tkachuk and Brady Tkachuk, the way they play, how tough they are, and tenacity with the speed. And then you could have a Jack Hughes and a Jake Gensel next to an Austin Matthews. It's like how complementary they are. And we talk top 6, bottom 6. For this team, it's like top 9. It's just all their forwards.
Yeah, they have the depth hand, I think, over every other roster.
It's like the same line over and over and over again, which can just beat a team down.
They're gonna exhaust their opponent.
It's how the Panthers won.
Exactly. They overworked and overwhelmed their opponent. Now for their power play unit, this came out. It was going to be Tkachuk, Eichel, Hughes, Matthews, and Fox.
Yep.
I know Foxy's not having his favorite season thus far, but
this
could be something to make him come alive. Like, I'd be nervous to see how some of these Rangers players come alive after this. But yeah, I think the USA at hand, just the depth and the ability to outwork their opponent is like right there in the bag.
Could you imagine saying that 15 years ago? Like
No.
USA, we're looking at these rosters like, wow, they passed Canada. The national development program that they got up in Michigan, it's just, that's made all the difference in the world. And you think of the guys that have come through that. It's like with a Jack Hughes, you know, for Austin Matthews, like he's the dream of the NHL. Grew up in Arizona because he saw the Coyotes play. And that's what got him into hockey. Now he's representing Team USA. It's just, I knock the NHL for the lack of marketing, and they just don't do the league and its stars justice.
Yeah.
But you see the dream coming to fruition of how they put this together.
Yeah, and good shout out on that because we've seen them appear more in the draft over the last 2 years, so much more. So high class to that development and what they're doing. But yeah, USA is ready to take over hockey. I'm here for it.
I think they've been there, so we'll see how they do in this tournament. Very exciting. That's the Four Nations face-off. Puck drops Wednesday night. Hey, we'll now toss it over to our ringside review that we always have. Athan and Jason holding it down. Check it out.
Welcome into another edition of Ringside Review. I am Athan Hristodulu, joined alongside Jason Ounpraseuth. We are going to talk some Monday Night Raw once again. We also have some rumors going around right now about potential signings for the WWE with people crossing over from the dark side potentially. A lot to discuss, a lot to get into. And Jason, I'm going to open the floor to you first today because I've mentioned on here before, and I know some of the IWC might hate me for this, don't watch AEW. Not because I don't like it, I just don't have the time. I barely have the time to keep up with WWE sometimes. So with that, Ricky Starks, Malachi Black, Miro, all potentially hitting the market and could be heading into WWE. Miro or Rusev on the WWE end, Malachi Black, Aleister Black, depending on what you watch. Both of them, I've seen them before. They don't really move the needle for me, but I've heard a lot about Ricky Starks. I don't know a ton about him, though, but I know he's a big deal from AEW. What do you got on him that I should know and why he could be a big deal for WWE to bring on?
Yeah, I mean, Ricky Starks, he's a fantastic promo guy. It's kind of the ironic kind of thing is that he kind of gets compared to The Rock sometimes. If you ever see a promo from him, he definitely has the cadence of The Rock. He also has a very good in-ring, floor as well. He had a fantastic strap match against, Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan. That's definitely a match to check out of his. And there's a little bit of shaking out with his time of AEW. There's times where he wasn't booked. He suffered a neck injury that took him off TV for a while. So this release was a long time coming, assuming he did get his actual release from AEW. He's just off the roster page right now. And so he's definitely a very interesting sign for WWE. Fits their style. Think of very like a LA Knight kind of vibes. I would describe him as, very talkative, very charismatic, and has nice in-ring floor to really get people entertained. And I guess all it takes is a catchphase, right?
At this point, yeah,
that's all it takes for guys to get over. And so I think Ricky Starks, he's a very savvy kind of guy. And so if he and WWE can get something done for a deal, I could see him coming in around WrestleMania season, possibly the Raw after WrestleMania.
Okay, now just curious, you talked a lot about floors with his in-ring ability. What do you think his floor and ceiling is within WWE? Is it mid-card, main event type of guy? Like, where do you think he slots in? Obviously, we just saw a ton of talent get released a few days ago. It's a crowded locker room on WWE's end. Where does he slot in on that in your eyes?
Yeah, I think just similar to the LA Knight kind of perspective of just upper mid-card, can kind of win the IC title, United States Championship, and it kind of flirt with the World Championship scene. I think, with WWE, they can always use fresh blood, free agency and, sort of this off-season kind of movement, if you want to call it that, between the companies. I think it's very healthy for the industry, just having new faces, new matchups, and having a guy like Ricky Starks in that upper mid-card scene can really spice up, the IC title or United States title scenes.
All right, awesome. So keep an eye out, Ricky Starks, maybe making a move over, jumping brands. Moving into Raw last night, though, show opened. We got the inevitable in my eyes, and I think a lot of people would agree. Jey Uso, Gunther, they're going one-on-one as a main event in WrestleMania this year. I want to ask you because I am just underwhelmed by this, and I love that we're kind of on the same page just looking at notes here. This was the obvious direction we were going to go. We got an extra week wait before Jey Uso actually issued the challenge. It took Gunther coming after him as he was doing his encore of his entrance there. As you said earlier, all it takes is a nice catchphrase and maybe a little bit of hand motion to get you over. I don't really understand the point of making us wait a week to find out. I don't really understand Gunther's angle of, I don't want to face this guy. I'm making it very clear I don't want to face this guy, but let me go antagonize him and attack him in his entrance in hopes that he won't challenge me because of that. So how are you feeling on this? Because there had to have been a better way to get to this point.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the same vibes as you. It's just like they kind of went a weird direction of this. They have a very simple story. Like, Gunther is the final boss of WWE, more or less. He's this unstoppable force that wrestlers need to go through, and Jey Uso is, the ultimate underdog, very similar to his best buddy Sami Zayn, back in his, very long time ago NXT run when he was the underdog from the underground kind of type. And that's what Jey Uso, at least what he should be, at least. I think WWE's kind of running into this weird dichotomy where his entrance is over and, he has this very charismatic persona, but they also want to treat him as this fighting underdog type. And so they're kind of got caught in this weird in-between. And so I agree with you, Athan, that this was very underwhelming and they kind of went a weird roundabout way to do this. Possibly an attempt to try to spike interest in SmackDown, which they kind of failed.
Yeah, I just feel like they missed the mark. They dragged it out, and I don't have the answer for it. I just don't really see the direction that they went with. I'm fine with the match, and I even said last week, after the Rumble happened, I'm okay with Jey winning. I would say a little bit of a fumbling to start this run as the Royal Rumble winner. I just hope that they can build on it going in the weeks forward through Elimination Chamber and into their eventual Mania match. On top of that, speaking of just me not understanding some directions here, and this might sound like a more negative show, but I have some gripes with Raw this past week. And in big bold, can we stop doing this? I'm a huge fan of Rhea Ripley. Love her character, the way she presents herself. She is a fighter. She is not afraid of anyone, will not back down to a challenge. Absolutely love what she does. Why does WWE, though, insist on having champions hand out championship matches to people who do not earn them? I understand the idea of, okay, she's a fighting champion. She's not afraid of a challenge, but it does not come across like a logical decision to make where you as a champion want to protect your championship. Why would you hand it out to somebody who hasn't earned anything? I'm looking forward to the match. Interesting that they chose the Raw after Elimination Chamber. That wrinkle obviously has something to do with that championship match, I'm assuming, because otherwise why not have it at Elimination Chamber? But just what do you think of this as well? I would love to get your thoughts on it because I don't like the handing out of championship matches, and it seems to be, I get the point, but it doesn't come across that way.
Yeah, it kind of comes across to me as them wanting to protect Io Sky. That's someone they're really high on, and so they had her, weirdly lose by DQ to Liv Morgan, so Liv Morgan can actually be in the Elimination Chamber match, but they also want to keep Io Sky sort of in a prominent position in the women's main event scene. And so by doing that, Rhea just has to hand her a championship because I guess, Io can't pin Rhea or anything like that in a tag match, as we saw on Raw where Io pinned Liv Morgan pretty relatively clean. I mean, it was a tag match and Liv was bleeding, but still, it was a relatively clean finish there. And so it just seems like WWE loves having their babyface champions play a very passive kind of role in their reigns. Like you said, Rhea Ripley is a, very strong, very badass kind of champion. And so it's weird how they want her to actually look weak at the same time and actually be vulnerable and be relatable, I guess, in a way, because, she has to be best friends with Io and all that kind of stuff. And so it's kind of weird, Athan, how they are treating Rhea in this kind of in between of being passive, but also having this very strong presence.
Yeah, it almost feels like it kind of goes against her character in a way of having her, like you said, passive traits that don't go along with what is an aggressive, dominant character who will go to the ends of the earth to defend her reign as a champion. So I don't understand the idea of handing this out. And I think in a way, maybe it has to do with them trying to hide the fact that her and Charlotte are eventually going to face off, because something tells me Charlotte's going to make us wait for the decision and maybe wait longer than anyone was actually anticipating. And maybe it comes to fruition in that Raw after Elimination Chamber where we finally get that answer once a women's Elimination Chamber winner is figured out and we know kind of the direction they're going, or we get a winner, but Charlotte decides who she wants to face, and then just the winner has to face the other person. Maybe that's the route they go. Not sure. I just had to get that opinion out there because I'm tired of seeing champions hand out matches. It does not make sense for somebody who's holding the strap to go out and say, yeah, do you want a match? Do you want a match? I get the fighting champion thing. It doesn't come off that way. Now, I have a little bit of a theory here, and I'm glad that you entertained it a little bit here when I was writing it out. CM Punk has spent the better part now of, I think, every single promo. There may be one that he didn't mention it, but I'm almost positive every single promo since John Cena has returned, in some capacity, calling him out. Whether it's just very small, very abrupt, or it's fully fledged, here I am working every single week, earning my spot in the Elimination Chamber and pointing out the fact that John Cena just showed up and basically said, after losing the Rumble, I'm in the Chamber match. See you guys in Toronto. I want to get your opinion on this. With how many jabs we are seeing now from CM Punk, John Cena winning the Elimination Chamber and facing Cody would not make a ton of sense to me now that Gunther's off the table. You have babyface on babyface kind of thing, unless you're going to turn Cody on Cena. Maybe that makes sense. What about the idea that we get CM Punk and John Cena facing off in the chamber, blow for blow in some capacity, costing each other their opportunity to win that match and have a title match at Mania, and them getting one last blow-off match to settle their rivalry once and for all at WrestleMania? What do you think?
Sorry to burst your bubble, Athan, but I've not really seen this for WrestleMania.
Let me have my fun.
Yeah, I mean,
let me have my fun.
I mean, obviously, I think this match should happen at some point this year. I won't disagree with that. CM Punk and Cena have a ton of history. Their 2011 Money in the Bank match, still one of the best of all time, in my opinion. But I kind of do see the sense in Cena Cody. I think just putting those two stars together and Cena for a title match, I think is very impactful, especially for his last WrestleMania match. I can see possibly, I was looking at the calendar, the summer calendar at least. There are two Saturday night main events during the summertime, in May 24th and July 12th. And so the past couple Saturday night main events, they've been okay, but especially the last one with Jey Uso and Gunther, kind of a dud main event in my opinion. And so, what better way to
WrestleMania main event out of it? So
yeah, well, that's fair also. And so, there is a merit to maybe doing a WrestleMania for the bigger match, bigger stage, but possibly maybe a SummerSlam, a 2-night main event, a stadium show also at MetLife Stadium. I could see that happening. So I don't disagree that this match could happen at some point. I'm just not really seeing it at WrestleMania.
So that's an interesting point, and that is a fair argument too, especially 2-night SummerSlam. First, was SummerSlam 2 nights this past year?
This is the first one.
This is the first one, right? Okay. The conversation for 2-night SummerSlam has been happening for what feels like 2 years now. Yeah. So I feel like it's already happened once. So with that being the first 2-night SummerSlam, that means maybe like the opportunity to have them main event one of the nights and it be used as a way to, I guess, push ticket sales. Because I guess 2-night SummerSlam, this is the gamble that they're running now, where they're trying to make these shows 2 nights, where all like the big four seems to be the push that they're on right now, because there's the talks of the Royal Rumble going 2 nights as well, which not a fan of, don't want that. SummerSlam, I'm kind of okay with, not the Rumble. I like it being a 1-night thing. But I guess if that's the route you want to go, I understand that. But for me personally, if I had to pick Cena's greatest rivals, it's probably Triple H, Randy Orton, CM Punk, Edge, in some order, however you want to put them around. Triple H obviously can't wrestle anymore. Edge is not around. Randy Orton, I kind of have a theory as to what he might be doing over the next few weeks. We can probably get into that in a later day. But I feel like right now, what better way to cap off Cena's final WrestleMania appearance than with one of his hottest rivals in CM Punk? It's a fantasy land I'm living in, so let me live in it, Jason. Just let me live in it. Now, before we go, really quickly, I want to hear your spin on this. Netflix, cutting off in the middle of the New Day segment at the end of the show. Is this on purpose? Did somebody hit the end show button early? Is New Day getting disrespected by the broadcast team now? Everyone hates the New Day. Is it even going as far as the people in the truck from Netflix hating on them now? What's going on there?
Right, and so I guess for anyone who didn't watch it, Logan Paul beat Rey Mysterio, and by the end, New Day attacked them and just all of a sudden faded to black. And so we weren't really sure what was going on. And so this kind of ran counter to what Triple H, Paul Levesque said before, that they had a flexible runtime. He's mentioned before how they aren't constrained to time because obviously Netflix is Netflix. There's no show, there's no Law and Order coming up after the show.
Yeah,
and so
a Law and Order kicking us off air.
Yeah, exactly. And so it felt very weird. And so I could see this being, like you said, a disrespected storyline for the New Day. That's kind of how their new heel character, hero personas at least, are going with. And so that could be adding fuel to the fire to that. I can also see this being a happy accident for them. Maybe they just actually did run out of time and, some other segments went long. For CM Punk, who's going to tell CM Punk that, hey, you only have 10 minutes to go out there? Like, CM Punk's going to do what CM Punk wants to do. And so maybe a segment did actually go long. Liv Morgan, we mentioned before, she started bleeding in her match. And so maybe that took some extra time. And so I can see this being a happy accident for the New Day's heel characters. Because for me, Athan, they're not really popping off as heels. It's really hard to sort of run counter to them being the serial guys and, being the biggest baby faces of the company
for
to now be
like
heels.
10 years.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really see that being, successful so far.
Well, I guess we'll have to see. If it's a happy accident, I hope they run with it because I'll be curious to see if they come out next week and they start calling out Netflix and their broadcast team for it. But I appreciate you and Jason, as always, joining me to discuss some Monday Night Raw action, as always. If you made it to the end, greatly appreciate it. We'll catch you all next Tuesday to talk some more Monday Night Raw. See you all later.
Shout out Jason and Nathan for that. So you asked me, are you going? Did you get credentialed? Are you going to Four Nations?
I'm going to go as a fan.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. You ponied up.
I'll be there Monday night as
saw
a
his ticket
fan
prices.
to watch it.
See how I was like, yeah, if I get credentialed.
I know. At first, that's what I was going to do, but I was like, work it from an angle or go as a fan for something that's
Enjoy.
for the first time. Yeah. So I actually have friends coming up to Boston this weekend, and their Valentine's gift to me was we're going to Four Nations.
Got good friends.
17 years. They better be good to me. No, I'm just kidding. We've all been good to each other. It's been a big group of us, 10 of us best friends for 17 years.
Nice. Hey, that's a great gift then. You go see a tournament that's going to be so unique. You see it at TD Garden. Mm-hmm. That's the best thing too. This tournament being played between the U.S. and Canada and the championship game, of course, being at TD Garden. She's Kasey Hudson. I'm George Balekji. This was Boston is End of the Chat. Appreciate you guys making us a part of your day. Have a great day, everyone.